Truth Tribe, and welcome to Christian Conservative, your trusted source for bold, unfiltered news and analysis on the issues that matter most to Christian conservatives. I'm KJ, and I'm, of course, here tonight with Michelle Talkington. How are you doing tonight, Michelle?
I am fantastic. Hello, everybody. The weather out here is great, so I think I'm over the top enjoying this day.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And today is Palm Sunday. Honestly, one of my favorite Sundays of the year, Palm Sunday, and the beginning of what many call Holy Week. So, we're going to talk about that as well tonight and just how that intertwines with culture, with everyday living. And that's what we're here for, folks. From faith and family to politics and culture, we tackle the hard truths and stand firm on biblical principles. So, again, join us as we expose the lies, defend our values, and fight for truth in a world that desperately needs it. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to stay informed, empowered, and inspired, and hit the like button. That really helps to get our content out to a wider audience and to keep us here on YouTube. So please hit that like button. All right. So we want to get right into this, guys. Again, today is Palm Sunday. What a great day. The Sunday before Easter. So, of course, we have Good Friday coming up this Friday. And then we have Easter Sunday. Do you do anything for Good Friday, Michelle, usually?
We have our service. And, just going to church, spending time as a family, going out to eat, getting our palm leaves, folding them, making crosses out of them.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. And particularly with Good Friday, we usually eat fish and just get together with family and friends. And then again, like you mentioned, go to church on Sunday and spend the day with family and friends. So I'm excited about that for that to come up. And so wanted to kind of start off tonight with President Trump and how he made a message of Holy Week. So I'm not sure if he posted this or if he actually said it, but he presented a message celebrating Jesus's resurrection and salvation of sins. He titled this Holy Week 2025, celebrating Jesus's resurrection and salvation of sins, and vowing to defend the Christian faith and religious liberty. He says, this Holy Week, my administration renews its promise to defend the Christian faith in schools, in our military, workplaces, hospitals, and halls of government. Trump wrote in a Palm Sunday statement. Okay, so he wrote this. He also said, we will never waver in safeguarding the right to religious liberty, upholding the dignity of life, and protecting God in our public square. What are your thoughts on that, Michelle?
Refreshing. It's about time. I mean, they're praying before they go on and speak to the press. It is a phenomenal turnaround. And I think it should help us as Christians to say, okay, this part is back on track. Keep going.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I think this is just a reminder of how or why so many people said enough was enough with the Biden regime and the way that they were just debasing and perverting faith in the White House in general. I mean, if you guys recall, what was it, 2023, when they chose to really focus on the Trans Day of Visibility instead of Easter. Do you recall that, Michelle?
I don't know how to erase it from my memory. So recalling, I was appalled. I was shocked. I was livid. There are so many ways you could have changed that. And there is no excuse to say, well, it was already on the calendar for that day. Change the date.
Right. And not only that, but we can see now the big difference. So it's still on the calendar, I suppose, but President Trump has chosen not to highlight it. And so what we saw the direct opposite under Biden, he chose to highlight it on Easter, no doubt. So guys, if you don't know what we're talking about, in 2024, Biden issued an Easter Sunday message that really excluded any mention of Jesus Christ. And he promoted Transgender Day of Visibility, literally replacing Christ with gender ideology. So Holy Week was used as a backdrop to promote LGBTQ and not spiritual reflection. Big, big change from what President Trump is doing now. And this is all the more another example of why so many Christians are happy, even if they did not like President Trump, they didn't like, the way he spoke and things like that. We voted for him because of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like every turn the Biden administration had, they made a mockery of God, and
Right.
we serve a God who will not be mocked. And that's exactly what that was.
Exactly. And here is Caroline Levitt with her just a post here, because they recreated this White House faith office. And so you guys can see that here she is. The President Trump promised millions of Christians across the country that he would create a White House faith office, and he delivered on that promise. So, I mean, this is what we're talking about right here. And again, we saw this over the last 4 years. Not only the the White House pushing out perverted, different ways to pervert family, pervert mother, the idea of father, all of those things. We saw this throughout the last 4 years, but then they also try to couple it a lot of times with legitimize things. And so what's really strange is they brought perversion into areas that were once traditional, and sort of coupling and bringing these things together in a way to kind of legitimize the perverted. And this is what we were talking about here. I think I have the photo of the Trans Day of Visibility. This is just crazy. Let me see here. Okay. Oops, sorry. Oh, okay. Here it is. Oh, wait, it's not coming up. 1 second. Yeah, I think I have a photo of that. Yeah, this is insane. Okay, here we go.
For the audience. Bad then, it's going to be bad now. There's no good time to see this nonsense.
I know, exactly. And I don't have the video. I didn't want to post that, but they did this on the White House lawn. On the White House lawn during their so-called Day of Trans Visibility, right around Easter. I can't remember if it was before or after. They did this. This is a trans woman, a man, biological man who has had surgery to become a woman, and she or he or whatever you want to call him thought it was a good idea to show his breast implants on the White House lawn. It was crazy. It was crazy.
It's crazy enough that look at our flag hanging with the pride flag front and center, flanked by the American flag. So that is what they highlight. This is debauchery. This is demonic. There's in no way, shape, or form even appropriate for the White House, let alone just putting it on television. I don't care where it is, but it's the White House. And this was on display for the entire world. No wonder we were a laughing stock.
Exactly. And this is what I'm talking about when I say they try to couple these perverted things with traditional things in order to sort of make the perverted things more legitimate, more mainstream. So this is a clip from Candace Owens' a recent broadcast. I don't know this gentleman's name she had on there, but he was really talking. He made some really good sense on how the left tries to normalize perversion. Let me see here. I have the clip. Let's see. Take a look. Now that's the perverted thing. All right.
Sort of how sex has always sold, and it's getting more and more overt. But there's this other aspect that I've been noticing, and it's OnlyFans. In that OnlyFans, at first, it was so easy for people to paint it as like this great thing where they're going to empower the creators and they're going to make the porn industry safer, and they're going to like let the women be in control. And then OnlyFans started doing PG content where they would take porn stars and OnlyFans creators and they would have them do normal TV shows. And this is happening right now. So it's like a travel show or like a cooking show, but it's like a porn star doing a cooking show, so that then you can have this porn star on TV on mainstream daytime television, and you can have your 5-year-old, your 8-year-old, your 12-year-old watching a porn star cook food, and it's totally normal. And that is like Subversion 101, is start to just blur the lines more and get more and more people, make it normalized, make it part of culture and society, in the exact same way that LGBTQIA plus is just trying to bleed into our schools and into our like as though it's just normal. And I pray that we are waking up in time.
Yeah. So, I mean, he said it the perfect way. They are trying to blur the lines in all spaces. And we saw this back in 2023 or 2024 when President Biden tried to, do this Trans Day of Visibility and then also push Easter. Again, it's this kind of coupling the demonic, the occult with normal, traditional, and what he tried to do here, biblical, faith-based types of events to make this a normal thing. What are your thoughts on that idea, Michelle?
I'm looking at the chat even, and I was thinking the same lines as the S-Files, and she was talking about when she first noticed the White House being lit up for Pride Month under Obama. And it's not just that you have to sneak it in little here and there. It's seemingly non-political. You're just supporting a group, and then you're doing it over and over. And then even that group is hijacked, and it goes to an extreme. And that's the same as, Satan is tricky that way. He likes to plant little tiny seeds until they grow, and you didn't even know how it got there. Like, how far back do we have to go to clean this mess up? Is it too late? It's can we close Pandora's box and put some of the stuff back in? The answer is no, but can we wake up and stop this? Yes, I think we can.
Absolutely. And the first step to doing that is calling it out. When they try to, because what they do is, when we say, no, we don't want drag queens reading to our kids in the public library, well, then they say they're not reading it. They're just reading fairy tale books. They're just, nobody's going to read to them if they don't read to them, and what's your problem? They're just drag queens. There's nothing wrong with them. Well, yes, again, it's this idea of coupling this sex symbol, this debauchery, drag queens started back in San Francisco, that whole drag show culture. It was very sexualized. It was nasty. It was not for children. So, when we say we don't want this in our public libraries reading to our children, they make it seem like we're crazy because, they're just reading regular books. What's wrong with that? No, it's a drag queen doing it. This is not right. So we got to continue to push back. Same thing with these books, with these pornography in the books in our public libraries, in our school libraries, where they're saying, it's just a book and this is all part of society. No, children should not be reading these items. They should not be taking in these types of topics, but they make it seem like we're crazy for suggesting this stuff, for pushing back.
Yeah, we're wild for saying no. And you're right, it was adult entertainment, adult things were adult things, and that's what's scary. And I think what's scary in what he just said, the gentleman, again, I'm gonna have to look up his name, but that having porn stars read or having them doing cooking shows, kids know their names. All that is a quick Google search until they're diverted to the wrong website, which pulls up, yes, in fact, that same person who was cooking, but now they're not cooking. Right. We know what they're doing.
Right.
And our kids can get past those fail safes. Not every state has the safeguards that prevent you from entering websites without putting in a birth date. But come on, if this is a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, they know how to do this now. It's beyond dangerous, and they know what they're doing.
Exactly. But they are so slick. They are so slick. And this is what has gotten me kind of upset sometimes with conservatives, because we have just conceded the culture a lot of times, because we say, oh, well, we don't want any part in that. And, even with stuff like our broadcast, this is why we're so important. And this is one of the reasons why we decided to do this, is because we need to talk about this stuff. We need to speak against this culture, these things with biblical truths, and not be afraid to be called names. Because if we don't, then we concede this ground, and then they continue to push it, not just on, people within that culture, but to the masses, to our children. And this is why programs like ours are so important. So please continue to like this broadcast, folks. It really helps to push our show out to the masses here on YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe. But yeah, you were right on with that, Michelle. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to sneak this perversion in, even on Instagram. Have you all noticed lately that if you follow certain pages, and they may just be pages for cooking or for medical advice, every now and then they will put out some type of pornographic video. Mm-hmm. It's really weird. So this has happened to me like twice now, where I've subscribed to a page on Instagram just about random stuff, something, some type of, tells you how to do something, but then they'll throw in some type of pornographic video. I don't understand why they do that.
They did that. I was angry, and it's some of these Google apps and games. So I have young children. My youngest is just turned 7 now, but I let them play little games, like pop the bubble games. They popped up the games, and because we didn't pay for that particular game, they have the little pop-up ads. There was an ad on there that was like some type of crazy bondage. I looked at that thing and said, I literally my instinct was to be upset with my kid. I was like, whoa, this is a kid that wasn't reading at that level. I'm like, oh no, where did this even come from? And how do you click off that? Because kids are just clicking. They're just pressing buttons. All these little pop-ups are showing in there, and they know that this is a children's game. Why in the world would any kind of adult content pop up on a children's game feed?
Right. This is why I was saying I agreed with Ron DeSantis and others who were trying to get rid of TikTok, and then also trying to get this type of stuff off of the internet. Because no matter how much you try to safeguard your kid, to me, it's pornography. It's pornography, and it should not be available to kids under 18. I think that all this stuff needs to go behind all the websites, and all of it needs to, go behind some type of password protected internet where they cannot do that. They can't be on Instagram and Twitter or X and all these types of places where it could just pop up, even if your kid is on a child-friendly website or page. It shouldn't be that way. But they're doing this because they're trying to sneak it in subtly, tease this type of stuff to children, to teenagers. Hopefully getting them to even just take a look at this type of items. And the crazy thing is, back in the old days, if you were to give a pornographic video or pornographic magazine to anyone under 18, you could get locked up. Now you can do it right on the web, on the internet, and there's no consequence. There's no consequence.
I mean, we have to also face the reality that here in the United States, we are the largest I want to address this safely. I mean, we're the biggest traffickers. We pay for the most underage trafficking in the world right now. We're the buyers, we're the sellers here in the US. The money is there. So they own these industries. They are in power, and which is why, again, it's important for podcasts, people like us, average everyday people, when we stand up, sometimes we are that voice and that courage that our legislators need to actually write the right bills. Right. How crazy is that? They live in fear of these bigger people, bigger entities, big boys with the money and their next election, that they do the wrong thing over and over until enough of us say enough's enough. And that's what we're seeing under this administration. That was what we saw when the election hammer, when November came down and we said, we're done. We're done.
Yeah,
and it
absolutely.
Our voices.
I agree. And again, folks, please hit that like button and subscribe. And if you have it in your heart, your super chats also go a long way to helping us produce conservative content. So speaking of these greedy businesses, corporations, money hungry, politicians, we move to Coachella. So for you guys who don't know, Coachella is an iconic music festival held in California, which runs across 2 weekends every year. And it's basically a modern day pagan festival dressed up as music and art event. Okay. It isn't just a concert. It's a leftist social experiment masquerading as a music festival. You get communal living, nudity, sexual anarchy, feminist slogans, all within a carefully branded, corporate approved framework. It's postmodern Marxism with flower crowns, okay? And of course, we know who was there, Bernie Sanders. And this is really he's just so fake and phony.
Is he done yet? Are we done with him yet?
No, not even close. And you would think we would be, but I mean, he was there making an appearance, and of course he had to lash out against President Trump. Now, mind you, the cost to get into this place stems anywhere from $600 to I think like $2,000. So it's really expensive. This is not your working man, working class place like he presents himself to be. And here he is, they're making a plea, talking about, with his spiel that he always does. Take a look here. All right. So this is a photo of him. And I do have a clip. Let's see here.
It just looks sad. It looks like somebody lost their grandfather.
I know.
It just doesn't look right. Even him there with that crowd.
He doesn't care. He does not care. Here he is. Of course, he's got to, trash President Trump.
We need you to stand up to fight for justice. To fight for economic justice, social justice, and racial justice. Now we got a president of the United States who, I agree, he thinks that climate change is a hoax. He is dangerously wrong. And you and I are going to have to stand up to the fossil fuel industry and tell them to stop destroying this planet. All over this country, not in California, not in Vermont, where I'm from, but in Florida, where Maxwell is from, many other states, politicians are trying to take away a woman's right to control her own body. We need you to stand up and fight for women's rights. We have an economy today that is working very well for the billionaire class, but not for working families. We need you to help us to create an economy that works well for everybody, not just the 1%.
So he's sitting here talking to a bunch of people that just paid $100 to almost $2,000 to go to attend some festival. These people are not working class families and all this type of stuff. These are women who are encouraged to wear less, hook up more, and call it empowerment, a direct inheritance from radical feminist theory that decouples sex from morality and responsibility. This place is, I mean, it's just crazy. What are your thoughts here, Michelle?
I mean, I love his comment about fossil fuel, and all I could think of is we need to get rid of the fossil politicians, because right now I'm more concerned about the fossilized politicians, which he is one of them. Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, they've been there peddling this nonsense for now 2 generations, decades. They've been there for decades with this, and what a strange place to have it. I mean, they're really trying to connect, I guess, with that audience. And a large majority of that audience may not even be voters. So I don't know why they're doing this, other than to say, I agree with you, KJ. That's a group that they want to keep up this debauchery. They need them to think about women's rights and women's bodies and aborting healthy babies in that manner, because that's what they're selling. He's there selling this whole notion, and he hit all the boxes: social justice, socially, economic, blah. He was just checking all the boxes.
Yes, he was.
He needs to take several seats. He needs to stop. And the sad part is when I look in that audience, there's this clip. I'll send it to you, KJ. We can show our viewers. Hey, everybody! Just saying hi again to everyone out there. I see the chat. They went through and they were asking large groups. As a Christian group, they were asking groups how many books of the Bible they could name. Just random, 20s to 30s. And they couldn't get anybody to name 5 books of the Bible. They're like, excluding the first 5, can you name any? And they were making up names like I'd never heard before. They couldn't name 5 books of the Bible. This is where we're at. That's a whole generation of non-believers. They might go to church on Easter Sunday and Christmas. They don't know the word. Their lives are not involved in anything biblical. There's no biblical principles. It's do what you feel. And that's it. KJ, we're in a lot of trouble. This is where we need to start getting to them and spreading the gospel, not the nonsense.
Right. Exactly. And this is all, there's a lot of money behind getting them not to focus on the books of the Bible and to then focus on this type of stuff. This festival was sponsored by companies like Amazon, Coca-Cola, Meta, the very corporations that sell rebellion to kids while harvesting their data and emptying their wallets. This is a manufactured, designed corporate takeover of our young people. Marxism today isn't poor revolutionaries. It's rich elites profiting from cultural collapse. And this is why we talk about this kind of stuff. This festival is, millions of people attend this. This has been going on for quite some time. They don't care if you degrade yourself at these types of events as long as you click buy now. So, this thing has been going on for many, many years. It's not a festival, it's a ritual. And instead of people being baptized on Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday, they're being baptized in Marxism. The generations, these new generations are being baptized in Marxism, narcissism, sexuality, and social decay at events like this.
Yeah, this one's been going on since 1999.
Yeah.
And I love Angie says, Michelle, nobody in that audience is in their right minds. You know what? That is true. That is true. It's not just that they are could be on all kinds of illicit things. There is a high that happens when you get in these Coliseum type events and the music is demonic or there's things happening. And yeah, you get in this trance-like state. God's not in it. And you're surrounded by, you're just surrounded by demonic activity and people that are doing all kinds of things in front of you. And it's scary. It's not going anywhere soon until, I think until the Lord returns. So we have to fight back.
Right. And guess who else was there? So I don't know about you, Michelle. You may not have, but when I was young, when my son was younger, He used to love the show Yo Gabba Gabba when it first came on. And they had them at this Coachella festival. So this is again what I'm talking about, how they try to couple in, these sort of supposedly innocent children's programs with a lot of the debauchery and stuff that we see that was mostly happens at this Coachella type events. Here they are. Remember Yo Gabba Gabba? So why would they be there? This festival is not for children. It really isn't. This is a children's program. Why is Yo Gabba Gabba there?
I loved Yo Gabba Gabba. Yo, I mean, we have costumes for Yo Gabba Gabba here for my daughter.
Okay, so I'm not bad. I don't feel bad there.
No, I loved it. And you know why they're there? It is actually to play to the audience that is between the ages of 16 and maybe 25, 28. That's why they're there. You keep them there when you bring that throwback, because what kind of endorphins do you think was happening? This is strategic. This is playing to emotions. This is playing to the psyche. So you get people that are excited and they're all in their mid-20s. That was their childhood. And so they're going to latch onto that and think, oh my gosh, this is amazing. They brought Yo Gabba Gabba. So that's why it's the ones that they have and they need to keep hook, line, and sinker.
Right. You're absolutely right. But this is what we're talking about, how they blur the line. Mm-hmm. And while they had Yo Gabba Gabba there, they also had, what's her name? Lady Gaga. And she left fans in awe as she took to the stage for a jaw-dropping performance that on Friday night. This is the second time she was there. She's 39. She headlined the annual music event, with her first being in 2017. But this time around, she pulled out all the stops. So she did some type of satanic ritual performance on her opening set with the track entitled Bloody Mary, in which she donned a show-stopping red dress and stood in front of a Gothic-style backdrop complete with gargoyles and angels. So this is what we're talking about, folks. Again, Yo Gabba Gabba there, one set, satanic ritual. This is all part of it. They're the next. And I have it, I didn't want to play the sound because it's just, weird. Bloody invocation. So we know this is satanic. We've talked about this before, and how many of the occult, they use different things within the Bible and they use it as an inverse to show that this is how it's demonic and satanic. This is what they're doing. See?
Wow.
So again, all this there, and you got Yo Gabba Gabba, which is generally geared towards kids.
Yeah. Don't worry, guys. You're safe here.
Right.
Everything's okay. Weird. Satanic ritual.
Right. Right. It's weird. Dance of the Dead.
They're not even blurring the lines.
No.
There's no blur. They're so blatant at this point. They don't even have a need to. When I say the devil is walking around, he is strutting like this is Saturday, like he is John Travolta in a suit and we are doing nothing about it. He just kind of runs the streets.
Yeah.
It's in plain sight.
It really is. It really is. But we have to know, we continue to call this stuff out. Because a lot of people, innocent people who aren't really, looking into this stuff like we are, don't understand what's really going on. And they can get caught up in this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And again, we said this Coachella has been going on for years. Here is a set here. This one was made huge headlines. Let's see here. So this is one where Madonna was there and she did a set with the rapper Drake, and he actually got grossed out by her. Take a look. I hope my internet is all right. 1 second. So she's kicking him, and this wasn't part of the act. And he gagged. Whatever she did, it was disgusting. This poor guy gagged, and it looked like he was almost about to throw up in his mouth, in his hand, after kissing Madonna. And you know, wherever, no telling where that trash box, dumpster box has been. But this is what we see.
Yeah, that's a rough. that was hard to even watch. It's gross, but this is what happens on a regular basis. You know, we have to stop. We have to start walking out on things like this. We have to start being okay to say, yeah, that was too much for me. I had a group of friends, and they went to a concert that was here, and I believe it was the Weeknd who had a concert a year or two back, and there was a demonic seance. And the friends that were excited to go, they noticed and got up. The group of women got up and left. They said, this is demonic. This is evil. They left. And we have to start doing that. Our money is there. We're invested. No, walk away. This is your soul we're talking about. You don't know what you're coming home taking with you. This is supernatural, spiritual things you're taking with you. It's not okay. It's gotten, again, worse.
It has. And I think, believe it, we know about this stuff because we, research this. This is part of what we do. But I don't think the everyday average Joe, average person realizes what this is really about until it's too late. Many times the sad part is the parents that are introducing the kids to this stuff. They're thinking it's innocent. They're thinking, oh, why don't I take my daughter or my son to Coachella? It's an outdoor festival and, or a concert, and you're thinking it's innocent. Your daughter would like it or your son would like it. And then you find out what it really is, because your spiritual Holy Spirit is going off like ding, ding, ding. This is not right. What's going on here? And then like you said, a lot of times you're already there. Your daughter or son is so excited to be there. You don't want to spoil their night or whatever. And you kind of just stuck. But we got to start walking out, and we have to, let people know what this really is, because a lot of people don't understand it. I really don't believe a lot of people understand what's going on. Yeah.
No, so they don't. And where's the counter?
Say again.
As Christians, we should have something else. I said, yeah, as Christians, we should have the alternative.
Right. Exactly. So we definitely had to bring this up because, again, this is a huge concert, a lot of headlines. It's all over the news right now. Festival. I think it's still going on. So wanted to keep you guys aware of what's going on here. Please, again, if you're coming on to the broadcast, hit that like button. It really helps to get our video out to more people to see. And this is what we want to happen. So please hit the like button and subscribe. All right. So moving right along, wanted to change gears a little bit and bring you guys this video that we came across. It's called, let me see here. What was it called? Well, it's an idea of spanking, whooping is what they called it. But spanking is derived from white culture, from colonization. And it's something that many Black families have started doing. But in actuality, this person is saying that it's something that is wrong to do. And I want to get you guys' take on this. So here, let's see here. All right, take a look at this video. All right, so this is a Karen Hunter show. She is she's on Sirius XM, and she has a YouTube channel here. She's a leftist. But she's has someone on here she's interviewing that has written a book, some scholar, called "Whooping a Black Child is the Whitest Thing You Do to Them." And I want to bring this to you guys. Before we do, I want to acknowledge a super chatter. Dallas Delight says Coachella is so tired. Why the group mentality? Yeah, absolutely, Dallas. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. All right, so here we are. Again, so this is what they're trying to say on here. They're saying this Dr. Stacy Patton is saying that spanking is extremely harmful. Now that's always been controversial, but they've taken it a step farther to say it's racist. It's something derived by white people. And if you spank a Black child, it's the whitest thing you can do. So I want to bring to you guys what she's exactly saying here, and then we're going to respond to this. It's like another day, something else to turn into racism. Here we are. Oops, let me.
And so Black people had to do what they knew best to try to preserve their children's lives. So for them, a whipping for me, at least at the end of the day, you'll be alive, versus being, caught by the Klan or some other vigilante. And so we have this generational practice that, that Black people thought was saving our community, saving our children, saving our lives from whiteness, that we endorse this. So I started looking into the history, laid all of this out, but also went further back and said, look, we got to look at what pre-colonial West African cultures were doing. There is zero evidence that this type of ritualistic violence was used in pre-colonial West African cultures, and as well as other indigenous cultures around the world. This is a gift of whiteness, right? So white people were the ones beating their kids for centuries. This is why I always say whipping a Black child is the whitest thing that you can do to destroy them physiologically, intellectually, spiritually, and so forth. White people have this long history of degrading children, and they taught everybody else how to whip their children. So, beating our kids is not the way we existed in natural kinship with them. So there's the historical and the cultural roots of this. We talk about Christianity. None of those enslaved people who ended up on ships were Christians. They were Muslims, or they had other, indigenous practices. We didn't speak English for at least 100 years when we got here. It was illegal for us to read and write. And so, so Christianity, the kind that we inherited, this is a bastardized, Western version of this.
All right. So let's get into this. The internet strikes again with the bold claim that spanking a Black child is the whitest thing you can ever do. So I want to talk about this, Michelle, with you, because that's not just wrong. It's actually laughable. It's not historically correct. So let's break down the facts, the history, and dangerous ideology underneath this viral nonsense. This is what we're here to do, folks. Before we do, I want to acknowledge our super chatters here. Folks, thank you so much. All right, let's see here. We have Dallas with the $2 super chat. Says, thoughts on Savannah's attacker arrested. Oh, wow. Yeah. I'm not sure. We didn't talk about it on this channel. We did talk about it on Pop and Politics. We actually had Savannah on Pop and Politics, Dallas. So if you didn't see her on there, she's on one of the live shows from last week. It was Monday, I think. It was a great show where we spoke to her. She detailed what occurred. Yes. So for you guys who may not know, Savannah is a pro-life activist. She was assaulted in New York City while doing a man on the street interview, punched dead in the face, had to get stitches across her eye. She was hospitalized. Well, the person who assaulted her was some woman named Brianna Rivers, and she has been found. She was arrested. So I'm so happy. I just hope it sticks, because they are in liberal New York City. But she, of course, is playing the victim, saying that Savannah rage. I can't remember what she called it, but she caused her to strike Savannah. The Savannah caused this woman to strike her, which doesn't make any sense. So we'll continue to follow that, but definitely check out the episode we did on it with Savannah on Pop and Politics. We really dug in. But I'm happy she wasn't severely injured, and I hope justice is served. Really, I do. All right. We also have Kung Fu CJ. Hey, Kung Fu CJ says, hello, family. Sorry I'm late. No, that is fine. Better late than never. All right. Dallas again says, all those books behind her and sounding so stupid. I know. Michelle, What are your thoughts on that, what she said?
I had so many thoughts. And her backstory is I think she was abused as a adopted child. So there's backstory, and often there is, and you could be the smartest person in the room and the dumbest at the same time. So all of her degrees were for nothing, as far as I'm concerned. And KJ, I have said this over and over. I was talking to KJ about this. There is this sense of entitlement and sheer ignorance, as if anything that happened in the United States, a 400-year-old baby country, supersedes and surpasses all that's happened over thousands of years. How ignorant for her to suggest that there weren't Christians even. There are Christians in Africa well before there were ever Christians here in the United States. I mean, it was one of the first Christian colonies. Are we kidding?
And not only that, the first Bible was found in Kenya.
Yeah, Kenya. So, I mean, they can't help themselves. I think they start reading and they go down a rabbit hole and find themselves so super intelligent. They write this nonsense and people believe it. And no, it has nothing to do with that. It is biblical not to spare the rod, because you should discipline your child, and nobody believes in abusing children. But the fact that she would bring up native cultures, let's talk about what they did do. Maybe they didn't beat their children, but we do know they sold them. We do know in several of those nations and cultures there were child brides. So I just can't understand how you want to ignore all the other bad and get on your soapbox about beating children, disciplining a child, being anything about race, because it's not. And just for her knowledge, she may want to look up the fact that white people and white privilege, it's very American, because Caucasian people, white people, make up less than something like 15% of the world's population now. So the majority of the population is not white colonialists, as she implies. When does this end? When does it stop?
It doesn't. As long as they can use it, as long as they can emotionalize this and use it as leverage to get people to act, they will continue race baiting. But we got to correct this woman. The practice of spanking as a form of child discipline, as you said, Michelle, predates modern Western civilization by thousands of years. The earliest known reference to corporal punishment for children appears in ancient Mesopotamia writings, specifically Sumerian proverbs circa 2100 BC. You can research this stuff. It's right on the internet. The youngster does not listen to an order. A whip is his ear. That was a quote back in the Sumerian quote. This is nearly 4,000 years ago, and it wasn't white or Western. It was Semitic and Mesopotamia. I keep messing it up. Mesopotamian, right? Ancient, widespread, cross-cultural. So again, this stuff is out there. Ancient Egypt and Greece as well also had clear references to corporal discipline, both in schools and homes. So when someone claims spanking is white, they're either historically illiterate or ideologically possessed. They're trying to do this woke stuff again. That's what they're trying to do.
Yes, KJ, exactly on both points. Proverbs 13:24. Whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. Careful to discipline them. And if we keep on this path where we don't discipline, and again, we're talking about discipline, punishment, matching whatever has happened or whatever the child has done, and look at it the way it is. There's a reason we have a godless society. There's a reason we have all those 20-somethings at Coachella acting a fool and anywhere else. And a lot of them, many of them raised by my generation of parents, and then, my kids having kids, they don't have God. They don't have discipline. They're not that there's anything wrong, but they're all timeout kids. Everybody's on timeout. So what, they can sit, fester, and be angry and think about ways to do the wrong thing. We're seeing where it didn't work, because when we look back at the 40s and 50s, those families, those parents raised then, they wouldn't even think about doing the things that we do now. And there's a reason. There's a reason. And sometimes they got their behinds whooped, and they got spankings, and they got real discipline. They actually had to do their chores. They had to do the things their parents told them to do.
Right, exactly. And one thing, again, we are by no way comparing, or we're not talking about abuse. We're not talking about where you're damaging these children, you're abusing them. And personally, I think it depends on the child. Some kids don't need to be spanked. Some kids, you can talk with them. Sometimes it's the disappointment of the parent that hurts them more, or something that, or I'm not even gonna say hurts. They will learn more by you conveying your disappointment versus a spanking. And then some kids, you have to spank. I think it depends on the child. It depends on, the parent and the relationship. That this is what it is. I'm not going to say I don't agree with spanking. I'm not going to say I disagree with it. It just really depends on the child. But for her to sit here and lie about all this, I mean, this corporal punishment, it was in Africa as well. The Yoruba tribe in Africa, they had another saying. It says, if the child is not beaten, he will ruin the household. So this was right in African societies. They, again, had communal harmony and respect for elders was vital, but corporal punishment was used, not just by parents, but by the clan elders, chiefs, initiation leaders. This is not even like this stuff is known. I mean, people have portrayed this in movies and things like this for a very long time. This stuff, these rites of passages, the different tribes and communities raising these children. We've seen this. I don't know where this woman comes from lying like this. I really don't. We have a super chatter here. Let me see. Thank you all so much. Brown Eyes with the $5 super chat says Rivers was released on $3,000 bail, supposedly. The good thing is that she will not be receiving the $9,000 that was raised from GoFundMe. Oh, wow. Thanks for letting us know, Brown Eyes. Yes, I saw the photo of her being arrested. I didn't know she was released yet, but I figured she would be. I did see that they took down her GoFundMe. Then she tried to go on Give, Send, Go to get money raised. But that was a flop too. So we'll see what happens with this. Again, that's Breonna Rivers. She is the lady loosely, that assaulted Savannah Craven, a pro-life activist in New York City. So we had Savannah on Popping Politics. She went through the whole situation. You guys got to go back and check it out if you missed it. It was last Monday, and I believe she's on the cover of the thumbnail for that show under the live shows on Poppin' Politics. So definitely check it out. Yes, but thank you so much for your super chat. Folks, if you're coming in new or coming in now, please hit that like button and subscribe. But definitely hit the like button. That really helps to get our video out to a wider audience. So it really helps the channel. And again, we are a newer channel here, and we're just trying to get this out to see as many people to see as possible. All right. Let me see here. So she was just lying. She was lying. And what do you pretty much think about spanking and corporal punishment? Are you in agreement with it or a disagreement?
Depends on the household.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 kids. If I look at them wrong, they break out in tears and they self-discipline. I mean, they put themselves on timeout. They clean the house. They apologize. They write letters.
Yeah.
In my house with 6 kids, I get to figure it out. I kind of have some averages. There are some kids that need more discipline. So never a corporal punishment that harms.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Yep. And again, with the folks, you can research this stuff. You can go right on Google and research this stuff about the historical reference to corporal punishment. Again, in several African cultures, especially in sub-Saharan regions, initiatory rituals into adulthood, we know this, included physical trials, often involving beatings and canings, not as punishment, but as symbol of endurance, discipline, and readiness. Zulu boys underwent, circumcision initiation, faced physical discipline as part of moral training. I mean, the list goes on. The Igbo in Nigeria practiced palm striking. This was caning. We know this. They do caning in, I think, is it Thailand or I can't remember where they had. Remember, it was a case out many, many years ago where an American went to, I want to say Thailand or maybe some other Asian country and stole something. It was like minor and he got caned. But yeah, we know they do this type of stuff and verbal scolding. In Swahili speaking coastal communities, corporal punishment was combined with Islamic teachings. Discipline wasn't foreign. It was religious and traditional. So this goes back a long way. I don't know what that woman was talking about. Now, as far as Singapore, yes, Angie, it was Singapore. Thank you, Angie.
Money. She was talking about money, KJ. She's making money off her books. She says she's putting out a new book.
Yeah, you're right. You are absolutely right. That's what it is. That is what it is. And we know that they use this type of stuff, fear, race baiting, all of this to get people to buy into it. So this is why we're here to push back against it. As she was mentioning, this is a colonial whiteness, thing to do, corporal punishment. I just want to finish it up with, colonial powers did systemize and sometimes intensify corporal punishment, especially in schools and prisons. But again, the concept of corporal discipline was not imported. If anything, we here in westernized countries adapted it. So yeah, that's what it is. All right, folks. So thank you guys so much. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. Definitely like this broadcast. It certainly helps to get this video out to the masses. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. We really appreciate it. Again, we are here to get the truth out and also give a biblical context to many of these cultural instances and issues and topics that we see today. All right. So speaking of another cultural thing that happened, we want to talk about this woman who says airlines should make room for obese people. I want to get you guys' take on this. Let's see here. Okay, here we are. Here she is. And take a look.
My body isn't the problem. The system is. Airlines are making it difficult for plus-size people to travel by designing seats that are too small for even the average human. My worst experience on a flight was this one time when I was flying standby and I got stuck in the bulkhead row where the armrest couldn't be moved. The flight was full, so I had no choice but to stay in the seat. I endured excruciating pain for hours, wedged between the armrests, which left bruises on my body. I was on the verge of tears by the end and in so much pain that I almost vowed to never fly again. The physical pain lasted for days, but the emotional toll of being treated like I didn't belong was even harder to recover from. Airlines aren't doing anything at all to make it easier for plus-size people to travel. When you're forced to buy 2 seats or squeeze into a space that wasn't designed for your body, it's not just inconvenient, it's dehumanizing. My body isn't the problem. The system is.
All right, there we have it. So, Michelle, should airlines be responsible for plus size seating for someone that's dealing with obesity?
No. Just no.
Yeah.
She's an average person. No, average American. That's not the same. Not the same. We don't ask the Corvette makers, we don't ask a Mercedes-Benz to change the size and make of its car so that a big person can fit in it. That's nonsense. We don't do that with airlines either. Nobody forced her to be that size, even if you have a medical condition. That is not the airline's problem. We have to stop this.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree. Folks, this is, it's not just of course, we know we have an obesity epidemic here. We have health crisis, a public health crisis here in America. And RFK Jr. has been trying to, at least starting to get the government on board to assisting or tackling that, I should say. But this is actually a spiritual issue also. This is a spiritual issue. Morbid obesity is spiritual. We know that the Bible talks about our body being a temple, and for the Holy Spirit. Do not join those who gorge themselves. And Proverbs says that. Galatians, fruit of the Spirit includes self-control. All of this. So this obesity epidemic that we are confronting is due to spiritual neglect. It's gluttony. It's narcissism. It's self-indulgent. It's feeding the flesh. That's what this is. And we, as a society, continue to try to band-aid it and try to push fixes of it in all over the place. When we got to start, the real fix is we need to get back to the spirit. It's a spiritual issue that we're dealing with. That's what I think. What are your thoughts, Michelle?
Well, I love the spiritual principles. Fasting. God knew what he was doing when he had fasting. And we know now with all of our fancy science that if a person fasts, they cleanse their bodies. They help themselves to heal. Fasting was normal. We don't even do that anymore. And you're right. There are some systems at play that are demonic. We have the World Health Organization. We have all kinds of organizations and machines working against people, but they're working against just what you said, KJ, the gluttony. They know they can get people addicted, and we have no self-control. And in the United States, there is a sense of entitlement, just like the woman who's writing her books, the people with this epidemic of, morbid obesity. Well, there is an entitlement. We can do this. We're Americans. People have to worry about our feelings. And no, we have to stop this because you're right. Our bodies are important. We get one chance to do this. And exactly. We got to get back to it.
Yeah. And I don't think it's talked about enough, especially in the church. And, we as Christians, we need to speak truth. And then we do it, though, without shaming. But we have to we have to start addressing this and not be afraid to talk about this in the church because it's become too personal or, we're trying to be this is politically incorrect. We got to confront this, folks. It's about personal responsibility through Christian stewardship and clean eating. And I know there was a book out a long time, The Daniel Diet. Remember, did you ever, know about that? Yeah. Yeah, The Daniel Diet was one of the books that talked about clean eating and the biblical perspective on how to eat, what to eat. My mom actually used to read it. And let me tell you something, because, I come from a heavy set family, like many people in my family are overweight. We love to eat. I love to eat. And so, I am by no means trying to shame anybody or pick on anyone, that is struggling with weight. But, my mom was about accountability. She would always say, I got to get out here. I got to move more. I got to eat better and things like that. But now it's like society has totally changed from meeting this, it's talking about this stuff in a healthy way, in a loving way, but in an accountability way to, saying, it's okay to be, 250, 300 pounds.
Yeah. Now we got Allie, and I was going to say something to what
Okay.
Allie, the super chatter, is bringing up.
Oh yes, Allie, thank you so much with her $5 super chat. She says, KJ, these fools video themselves eating a bunch of crap and post it on YouTube because they are proud of it. Spiritual for sure. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. What were you going to say, Michelle?
I was going to say it's a fetish too. They are feeders. There are people that just specifically pay to feed people to make them. I don't know to what ends. They explode. I don't know where we're going with this, but it's so sick, right. And it's sad. And I think there's a fear in the church because I've gone to a lot of churches where the majority is obese, the majority of the congregation. And then you have people like Lizzo glorifying it, that it's the best thing to be overweight. It's natural, it's normal. And we shouldn't have the same standards if we're Black or Hispanic or whatever. I'm like, you should have godly standards. The standard is God. That's the standard.
Yeah, you're right. And guess what? God's grace covers our past. But we're still called to honor him in all areas, including our health. This is not healthy. This woman, being this big. And then this whole culture that we have developed now where people think you're supposed to cater to them. You're supposed to change for them. Everything around you, even if they're like a small subset of the population, everything needs to change because of them. This is the culture that we have cultivated right now. Instead of her taking accountability and saying, I need, this isn't about other people changing, the airlines changing. I need to change. I need to fix this. So it's sad. It's sad. I mean, I watched that show. I can't remember I don't know the name of it, but it's the doctor. He's a short man.
Yeah, My 600-pound life, Dr. Now's artist. Man, Dr. Now gets on me. I open my fridge and I hear his voice saying, "You don't need that." He just says stuff to me.
Right, I know. But most of the time you see him talking to these people and they're making excuses. They're lying. And he's telling them, you can't do that. You have to, be honest with yourself. And again, lying, it's all part of Satan's plan for our lives. Deceit, he deceives us, he lies, and a lot of people are falling for this. And then on top of it, we as Christians, brothers and sisters of these folks we are not letting people know, or not in love saying, you can't do this. You got to wake up. You got to want better for yourself. God wants better for you.
Or can I help you? Right.
Right.
Help. We're so busy telling people what to do. We're not asking, hey, my oldest, one of my daughters, she has a group of friends and they all decided we're just going to get healthy together. And this is a church group. And so after church, they go to the gym.
Right.
Because they decided, hey, I see some comments there, Lizzo's and the wealthy people in the world that at one point idolized, glorified, and then had their coming to Jesus moment that, hey, my health is important. They have a lot of money to help them to get to those, size goals, and they can get a personal trainer. In the church, we really need to start, Christians and friends, we just need to start in love, saying, hey, can I help you? What do you need? Looking out for people, praying for people. You bring them to Jesus and let God expose what they need to do. And I think he's the ultimate healer. You bring it to God and he'll show you, hey, this needs to change in your life to get better. And in the churches, we can't be afraid to say that.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I see Shelly E is in the chat, right? Folks, Shelly E from Poppin' Politics. She says, like communism, the left and progressive side is bloody. Just remember, this is a religion for them, and every religion has some type of ritual involving blood. This is their twisted, bloody, demonic ritual. Yes, indeed. I think she may be referring to Lady Gaga at Coachella. Yeah, it is true. It is so true. It is so true. Yes, indeed. So, and you brought up a very good point, Michelle. We do, we definitely need to pray, and we also need to, provide, try to help, be a help to people who are dealing with, obesity and things like that. Definitely, be a help to people. And that's what we need to do. If we're going to preach, if we're going to preach revival, it has to start with self-discipline, from our minds to our plates. So folks, hit that like if you believe our bodies matter to God. Share this with someone who needs a wake-up call, and subscribe for more bold truth from a Christian conservative lens. And I think that's another thing that's not talked about a lot in Christianity. I know we always talk about the soul and spiritual, the Holy Spirit, which are, of course, important. But guess what? The body is important as well, because it was we know we're in Holy Week that Jesus chose to come down in a flesh body. He came here from spirit and down to earth in flesh. There's some significance in that. At least in my opinion. What are your thoughts there, Michelle?
I think in today's society, we're just so focused on the sexualized part of the body that you'll hear in a church more often about sexual immorality or perverting your body in that way, right, and not in what you're putting into your body, like the food that you're putting into your body, getting enough water, eating things that are natural. What God grew on this earth, he knew what he put it here for. He knew what we needed. We just don't discuss it that way. I don't think we are going through that lens. And we should.
Yeah, we absolutely should. Our body is the product of a loving creator for which it has intrinsic purpose, and we will be happier and healthier when we live according to that purpose, with that plan in the design that he has for our bodies. So, Kung Fu CJ with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Says your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. The spirit can't live in an unhealthy body. That's true. Unhealthy physically and mentally and spiritually. Right. Yep. That's a good one. That's very good right there. Yes.
But once we get this right, there's going to be a lot of corporations losing a lot of money. So we're up against a multi-billion-dollar battle in the machines that are feeding your children candy and soda all day long in schools. So it starts young. So that's another way that Satan has infiltrated and gotten to the children, just to destroy their physical health through what should be healthy, which is the food industry. And we know it's not. That's why I'm happy about this administration.
Oh yeah, Satan is a deceiver and slick. A lot of people say, I think I read a study a while ago that said sugar addiction can be, if not more addictive than caffeine and cigarettes, nicotine and things like that. Don't quote me on that, but it was some correlation that the study found between how people become addicted to nicotine and the same triggers and signals they're finding are with people who have a sugar addiction. Correct. So this stuff, that's why I'm so happy that RFK was put in charge of the Department of Health and Human Services. I think that's what he was put in charge of. Because what he's talking about with this processed food is so important. And I don't think enough people, even in the medical industry does not understand the correlation and the significance of this processed food and what it does to the body and the mind, how it correlates to, aggressive behavior, particularly in boys, all of that. They don't even know. I have so many friends in the medical industry, ER surgeons, doctors, multiple different types of doctors, but they're just told one thing in medical school, but they don't really get into nutrition and how it relates to our bodies.
And then 20 years later, they're not re-upping. They're not going back and restudying all of the newest. They get in their habit and they know how many patients are coming in, and they don't go and continue to learn, right? What do we do as Christians? We meditate on the word. We read the Bible. We pray every day, like, we're supposed to. And that kind of renews our mind, a refreshing of the mind. And in the medical facility, they don't do that. Besides that, a lot of times it's connected to the money they're going to make to put somebody, a child or somebody, on the medication to help them with their obesity. The fact that right now we're fighting because of they're trying to have Medicaid pay for Ozempic, those types of shots being paid for by insurances, being forced to pay for that, that's outrageous. And that's where we're at. So I have little faith in the medical facility catching up to what God always knew was right. The same with the food industry. That's why, again, having JFK Jr. in there and others saying, we're going to look at it, we're going to pull back the curtain. If you look at what they feed kids overseas in their lunch halls, they're cooking these meals. These are like, in South Korea, they've got lamb chops or pork chops, and they've got fresh vegetables, and it's served in the right proportion, the right portion sizes, and everybody gets it. So we are so vastly, disgustingly different with what we feed our kids. It should be a crime what we give them at school lunch compared to other nations that are 5 times healthier than us, much slimmer than us. They can fit in the planes, unlike the woman who was complaining that she can't fit in the seats. So we have a problem here, Western culture. And again, Satan knows he can dominate.
Yeah, you're right. You are absolutely right. And Angie brought up a good point here. Says the medical industry does understand, KJ. They get paid for our industry. Right. That's a good point. A lot of times, like you mentioned, Michelle, as well, they're getting paid to keep us fat and keep us coming back. The Ozempic, if they can get that paid by insurance, that's going to be huge for these pharmaceutical companies and for the medical industry. They're just going to, write scripts for Ozempic, and no telling what side effects that's going to start on our young people. So it's a shame. It really is. But we will continue to keep you guys, alerted and talk about this. I hope they don't change. The airlines it is a small space, and believe me, even for me, it's a small space. But she needs to do better. That lady needs to do better. All right. Well, that does it then for us tonight. We have hit everything tonight, folks. Thank you guys so much for watching with us. Again, this is the start of Holy Week. We are starting, our climb into Sunday, Resurrection Sunday. I want to ask you guys in the chat, and you, Michelle, what do you think is what significance does Sunday hold for you? And we know that it's the day, it's the day we celebrate the resurrection of Christ. He died and then rose on the third day. But what is the significance to you in a general significance? What does it mean to you as far as your walk in Christ?
It's love. It's the one day for me that demonstrates God's pure love for us. That sacrifice so that I can leave this earth and see God in heaven, the ultimate sacrifice. So that day it's not sad for me. He gave up. There'll be a lot of churches that will reenact what happened, and all I can think about, and actually I am writing and performing a skit for Good Friday.
Oh, nice.
And I will be portraying Mary and her perspective of losing her child, her son, and then realizing in that she gained her savior, the savior of the world. So she goes from just being mom to being a woman on earth who gets to go to heaven because of what her son sacrificed. It's a beautiful little piece, and his sacrifice is amazing. It's just a day of love to be with your family and to share that love with the world.
Wow. That's awesome, Michelle. That is awesome. Yeah. Same thing. For me, it's something, the whole thing to me kind of symbolizes some things have to happen so glory can be manifested. And so we sit, sometimes you sit and you're thinking like you're not having a good day, you may not be having a good week, you may not be having a good month. But through it all, as we grow, as we go through life, we are still here. And when you can look back at all the stuff that God has brought you through, the crosses we all have bared, you realize there's something that God was trying to show us or tell us. Is a lesson that we were learning, an example that he wanted us to follow. And it just goes to show, with what he endured on the cross and rising, that next day or 3 days later, it shows me that we all are going to rise. Like everything's going to be okay, to the glory of God. Everything God has said, in the Bible and about us will come to pass. Yeah. And so it's just hope. For me, it's just hope. Hope is faith, love, like you mentioned, and it just like keep on going. Keep going. No matter what you're going through, you will rise on Sunday morning or Easter morning. You will rise. You're going to rise. It just may take at different times, but we got to continue to pray. We got to continue to read our word, surround ourselves with Holy Spirit filled people, and rise. We will rise. It's just for a season, but God already said it's done. It will be done. And that's what I see. That's what I look at it as. It's a joyous day. I love Easter Sunday. I love it. One of my favorite Sundays, my favorite so-called holidays. Other than Christmas, I like Christmas too. Yes, resurrection morning. Yes, indeed. Angie said, resurrection morning. All right. Well, that does it for us tonight, folks. Thank you guys so much. We will be back. Well, we won't be back. I don't think we're going to do Sunday. What's today? No, today's Sunday. So we'll be back Thursday. We will be back on Thursday with more. So stay tuned. Again, if you're watching tonight for the first time, please hit that like button. It really helps to get our video out to wider audience here on YouTube. And that's what we want to do. And if you were blessed by this conversation, make sure you subscribe. We are here to stand on truth, speak life, and fight for faith and family. Until next time, keep your eyes on Christ, your heart rooted in truth, and your voice unshaken. God bless.